Baylor's Pro Day is in the books, and guess who was in town? Some fast guys, some big guys, and Charlie Brewer. This is Locked On Baylor.
You are Locked On Baylor, your daily podcast on the Baylor Bears, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Happy Tuesday, everybody. Welcome to Locked On Baylor. I'm Drake Toll from Sports Illustrated's Inside the Bears, alongside Matt Mosley from ESPN Central Texas. Thank you for making Locked On Baylor your first listen every single day, and then Central Texas, ESPN Central Texas, the rest of your listens throughout the day. Matt, I'll tell you what, the last thing that my listeners want me to do is open this show talking about how Charlie Brewer was at Baylor's Pro Day. But Matt, I'm going to do what I want to do. Charlie Brewer was at Baylor's Pro Day. What was it like to see CB5 back on campus? Because you were right there for it all.
Well, I noticed as we were about to start that I still had my lanyard and credential on here from Pro Day. So
you've proven it, Matt. We're good. I think you've proven that you were there. We're good now.
Okay, good. I just wanted everybody to know that. And it was good to see Charlie. And I even joked with him as he was walking off. I said, "Are you sure you don't have any eligibility left?" And he said, "I'm done with college." And, you know, it was probably time for Charlie to move on. But I do think, like a lot of things, you know, history will be good to Charlie in the sense that he was an enormous part of what Matt Rule was able to do with his turnaround and threw for a ton of yards and was really took a lot of punishment, and I think would probably be considered one of the tougher players ever at Baylor. So I get that maybe people were kind of ready to move on from him at the end, but it was great to see him, and he was in good spirits, and he looked lean, and according to and I can't say that I saw every throw.
Yeah.
But boy, Ben Sims really was bragging about like how much velocity he had and how much even stronger he was than 2 or 3 years ago, the last time he caught passes from him. So I think Charlie he got hurt at Liberty, for people that didn't follow that whole thing, and which includes me, by the way. I think he hurt his thumb or maybe broke it or whatever. And so it took some time. And so about December or January, he was able to come back from that. And during that time, he really worked at getting stronger lower body, hips, everything. And so who knows, you know, if he'll have an opportunity to play pro football. I would say, Drake, kind of interestingly along those lines, with the XFL and USFL now, I would say there are probably more opportunities now. If you truly just want to play pro football, this is a better time than any time in the last maybe 10 years. And that's why you see like Abram Smith, and I mean, you could probably name several others that have actually done well in both the XFL and then over in the USFL.
You know, Matt, I spent a good portion of my day outdoors right here in my backyard, and that's where I got my sunburn. These guys were indoors at Midway High School, which is pretty funky to me, but I know why. You get the construction that's going on around campus. How interesting was it to have all these folks gathered up at a high school trying to do a pro day? 32 NFL teams showing up at Midway.
By the way, you're not too young to start wearing some like skin block. You know, I had to put on my prescription shades to see, and you are a little red, and I can tell you've been wearing shades yourself.
Got my aloe vera. I got my aloe vera right there.
You need to go with like at least 30, maybe even 45 for a fair skinned lad like yourself. But you and I both like to play a lot of tennis, and so I imagine you were getting involved in some of that. Now, you were asking me, now from a pro day standpoint, there were 32 teams represented, 34 scouts there overall.
Yeah.
I can tell you, just because I've known him forever, the Cowboy scout was Chris Hall, who's been with the Cowboys for going on, 25 years or so.
Yeah.
And Chris is a great guy who's been doing it forever. And one of the cool things about Chris is the players really love him because he kind of tells them stories and has fun with the players and really relaxes them. And they all come away with a great experience having been around Chris. That doesn't mean the Cowboys are going to draft them,
Right.
but I just kind of tells you the kind of cool dude that he is. I will say this, and we can go anywhere you want to go with it, but I thought you would be interested in this, and I thought your listeners would and viewers. I thought Ben Sims may have been had the best day of any Baylor player. Ben did not get invited to the combine, and I know he was kind of frustrated with that. But because he had obviously a great Big 12 career and is arguably the best tight end to ever play at Baylor, if you just look at the numbers.
Yeah.
And he ran an unofficial, and I've tweeted about this, and I'd appreciate a retweet, Drake. He ran a 4.57, and apparently that would have been like third at the combine. So extremely impressive. And I was over there watching it, and to the naked eye, he looked fast to me. And then so it was kind of cool to find out that he, in fact, did run really fast.
Yeah.
And Drake, I mean, I know we both appreciate his career and the leadership he's provided and all of that, but I don't know if either one of us, maybe you did, knew he was going to run a 4.5 something.
Yeah.
I didn't know he had that in him.
No, that to me, and I was wondering who was going to step up and be the guy on pro. You only had a couple of combine invites this year, so now's your opportunity for the guys that didn't get that opportunity to show up and show out in front of NFL scouts. It sounds like Ben Sims, according to you and Twitter and everybody else, was that guy for Baylor at Baylor's Pro Day. FanDuel.com is the place to go because there's a $1,000 no sweat first bet. I love UConn this week, -5 against Miami. I think it's a great pick because I have UConn winning the national championship. So right now, FanDuel's giving new customers a no sweat first bet up to $1,000. That's up to $1,000 back in bonus bets. If your first bet does not win, go to FanDuel.com/locked-on. Sign up today to claim your no sweat first bet. You can wager on everything: money line, point spread, which team would be cutting down the net. As I've told you, had 5 futures on teams to win a national championship, UConn being one of them, and they are right there with a chance. I will win a lot of money from FanDuel if they do win the championship. It's an app that is safe. It's secure. It's super easy to use, so do not miss your shot at a no-sweat first bet up to $1,000. When you join FanDuel today, just go to FanDuel.com/locked-on. FanDuel.com/locked-on. And you can make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA, the NFL, all that other stuff. Matt, did you get any feedback on either Ben or anybody else from scouts, insider baseball, that you can share?
Well, a lot of it was sort of public, but I did kind of go around and try to put my years of covering the NFL and maybe visiting with scouts, and I'll be as the days unfold, I'll try to reach out to some more people who attended the event. I will say this: the hearing from some of the players and watching Christian Morgan, that was a player we thought was really going to break out for the Bears, and he had his moments.
Yeah.
But it didn't ever quite get to where we wanted. And I think that was tough for him because with JT and Boogie and all those great, Pitre back there, these guys, we forget that they had some incredible role models and everything. And so suddenly they had to become the leaders. But Christian Morgan jumped on a standing broad today. This was according to Mark Milton, kind of told me this later, that Christian on a standing broad went 10-11. That's a huge number. And he went, I think I heard he went 40 inches on his vertical. Yeah. We're talking about a strong safety or a free safety in the NFL. These are big numbers.
Yeah.
So that's some kind of behind the scenes stuff that not everybody was getting or being told. And I think you got to feel great about him, about Christian. And, as Mark was telling me, in fact, I had Mark on my radio show today. And what a neat, funny dude that is. And I'm sure, Drake, you've been around the guy we call MJ Milton. He's a cool guy. He's funny. And, I mean, he's just got such a great personality. But they said Christian, and I could tell by looking out there, he's got these just massive thighs. And so, you can imagine. And where they worked out, I'm trying to think. I think Mark worked out at APEC in Prosper, Texas. And they said that they went back and looked at that former Cowboys player. You remember the guy that came out of UConn that went to the Dolphins after he was with the Cowboys? He was a Cowboys first-round pick. Byron Jones, is that right?
That's right.
And I always wanted to call him Byron Smith because I was buddies with a guy named Byron Smith. But anyway, Byron Jones.
That's right. Byron Jones, UConn, 2015, 2016, somewhere in there.
Yeah, but he set the all-time standing broad record at the combine. And it was something crazy, like a 12 or a 12.3. I mean, it was something insane. And they studied it and looked at all the angles and studied everything in preparing for this thing. So I did find that really interesting that they took the greatest standing broad jump of all time and broke it down to try to get. So Milton jumped at 10 feet, and then Morgan went 10, 11, and so almost got 11. And those are big numbers. So Milton said he had done a vertical of 40.
Yeah.
At his mock combine, did 35 today, which I say only 35. I would have killed to even have like a 27. Like I would have. I mean, that would have I would have actually been a decent high school player with that. But these guys go 5 and 40 is just otherworldly stuff, and it shows the explosion. And I never understood. I always thought it was kind of weird to ask an offensive lineman to do a vertical. But years ago, you remember the famous offensive line coach who sadly passed away for Matt Rule, George DeLeon. He explained to me a few years ago that they do look at those very closely for O-linemen because they think it shows their explosion coming off the ball, strength, and so that actually vertical jumps for O-linemen are a thing, even though I think sometimes we think, oh, it's kind of ridiculous. Now, while I'm thinking about this stuff, Drake, you got to watch, radio guys, because then we just take over, and you do that too. But that's why I'm not letting you have it back. So he had let's see, Khalil Keith put up 225 26 times. This was according to I'm trying to think which lineman told us that. But anyway, and I think Morgan hit 17 225, which is great for a DB. And Milton, the cornerback, put it up 12 times, which he was very pleased with, I should add.
Yeah.
Occasionally you'll get one of those DBs or a safety or a tight end that throws up 225 like a crazy amount of times. I didn't hear anything too just outlandish, but 26 times for Khalil Keith was pretty impressive, actually.
Yeah, that'll do it. Matt, before we get you out of here, I know you've got time constraints because you've got tennis coming up. Actually, so look, we got a lot in common. Neither of us were great high school athletes, it sounds like, and we both play tennis. So there's if I can just keep my trajectory of life, keep going on the path of yours. What are you? 15 years gap between us?
Yeah, I think you're being kind by saying that, but yeah, I would say more than 15. But I would just say in your future, don't include the deal where you fall off a bike and break your neck. Like leave that part out of your trajectory. But other than that, it's about doing things in moderation and trying to, at some point, at a fairly young age. Now, the thing you have for youth, metabolism, and great height. I mean, your 6'4" height, makes it dang near impossible for you to get heavy or overweight. Now, someday you might, run into that, but now you're in pretty good shape there.
Yeah, Matt, I'm doing my best. And all of this put together, Matt, before we get you out of here, the one big storyline for me that I loved is Jackson Player getting to go back and do pro day at his high school facility. Number one, was it weird to be at Midway with 32 NFL teams? And number two, what was it like to see Jackson Player back in his true element?
Well, it was kind of funny to think about going to a high school for a Baylor's pro day, especially with Baylor having great facilities. But and Drake, you've been around town. I know you're a man about town, and
I like to eat at George's. That is true.
Kind of spring, all the connections to the different high schools and everything. But Midway, I mean, that is just a gorgeous facility, and I promise you, we joke about Texas high schools, but I mean, you would be hard pressed to find any Big 12 school with, I mean, there's nobody that has a better indoor facility. There may be more bells and whistles, or maybe the painting or something looks different, but Texas Tech, University of Texas, Oklahoma, I mean, I promise you, they don't look better than that. It was pretty wild. I have seen it, and I've been in there, but I was just reminded of this cavernous, huge. I mean, the only thing I would say is that maybe there are some colleges that build their ceilings a little higher, because I did notice on some of the drills when they're trying to throw some passes for the cornerbacks or whatever to go make a play on the ball hit the ceiling a couple of times, but that was not a big deal. It barely happened, and happened like once or twice. I mean, I'm trying to think, like, obviously it's not as big. The Cowboys work out indoors in a place that holds like whatever 5,000 or 10,000
for
high school fans. But in terms of just a pure workout facility, it is amazing, and there's nothing like it in Central Texas for sure. I would say you'd have to go. You'd have to kind of get into North Austin, and it wouldn't shock me, by the way, for Belton soon to have something like this. But there's nothing. I can't imagine anything like this in the 30 to 40 miles around Waco.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad Baylor had a place to do it while they build the Fudge Center next to, which is a great name, right next to the right where the facility has been on the Brazos River. And Matt, thanks so much for joining the show today. I know folks can catch you on ESPN Central Texas. Now they can listen online from wherever they are. Is that correct?
By the way, online, you can get the app. You can download the app.
You're doing a great job of selling it right now.
Yeah, no, but I was interested more in talking about something you just mentioned, like the Fudge. The Fudge Operations Center, it is funny to call it the Fudge Center for sure. But Jeremy Fudge and I were classmates at Baylor. And it is very humbling, by the way. This will happen to you someday. And just like a buddy who you go to games with.
Right.
And again, he's a humble guy. And one day there was an announcement that went out. Literally, Jeremy and I go to games and hang out, a fair amount. He's been a great friend over the years. And the announcement went out. He didn't even tell me or didn't even warn me. And it said that Jeremy Fudge and his wife have given $15 million for this thing. And I'm like, God, I was just at a game with him last week. So it's people are extremely generous, and people are extremely successful. A lot of Baylor grads, but Jeremy's a good dude too, and and he's a great guy. So Baylor's very fortunate to have him in the pipeline and be a part also of the NIL. He's on that NIL committee they put together as well.
Yeah. Well, I know, Matt, that Mark Hurd's former college roommate probably feels about how you feel right now as well. And for everybody else out there, follow Matt on Twitter if you don't already. I know you probably do, but if you don't, follow Matt Mosley on Twitter. His handle's right there. Nobody covered Baylor Pro Day closer than Matt did. Nobody else tweeted more than Matt. And he's a Twitter savant, as I would say. So, Matt, thank you for joining the show as always.
You bet. Great. Thanks for having me. Y'all have a great rest of the show, and I'll talk to you soon, okay?
Well, hey, for everybody else out there, that's the end of the show. Thanks for listening to Locked On Baylor. Come back tomorrow. We'll have more coverage on Baylor men's basketball's offseason and football pro day as the draft approaches. Drake Toll, Matt Mosley, this has been and always will be Locked On. Thanks for making it your first listen every single day. Baylor.